Welcome to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Joyous conversations about what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about our one reality. You have nothing to fear. You are eternal and you are perfectly loved. Knowing the truth changes everything. Now, here's Roberta.
Welcome to Seek Reality. I'm Roberta Grimes, and I'm delighted that you could be with us today. As you know, what we do together each week is to seek the literal, scientific, and spiritual truth about the reality we believe that we see around us. There's just one reality. It has a lot more complexity, though, than we ever before in history have realized. But our doing this, our trying to understand what's true, would be a whole lot easier, of course, if the main institution that we long have trusted to do it for us, which of course is mainstream science, had not more than a century ago turned itself into just another belief system, a set of superstitions, if you will, not unlike a religion. In this case, science holds as a fundamental dogma. A dogma. If you have a dogma, you are a religion. It holds as a fundamental dogma, which is what they used to call it, the belief that reality is only matter-based. When in fact, by now it is well established, and scientists all know, that not even matter is matter-based as such. We've talked about that. But our religions, too, have really let us down pretty badly. They seem to have received bits of the truth often many years ago, but then they added to those bits some old and primitive interpretations, some dogmas that emphatically do not come from God, and a whole lot of irrational fears. Religions thrive on fear, when in fact what they should be thriving on is love. So neither science nor religions have much to connection with what is really the reality we live in, we perceive all around us. And that's where you and I come in. We are stuck with the need to figure it all out ourselves if we hope to ever understand anything. So you and I are doing that here each week. We put a little more work, and with the help of experts in many fields towards assembling what is a truly gigantic picture, little by little, we're figuring it out. And the great news is that there is so much wonderful evidence, and it is so consistent across the board, that we've already actually made an amazing amount of progress. This astonishes me. We have figured out so much, and so far what we have figured out fits together, and it makes sense. I swear what we've put together so far, I have to tell you, is so wonderful, and it makes such complete sense that I am overwhelmed and delighted with the work we're doing to watch it all developing every single day. So we're at the point now where we can start to use it a lot more maybe than we did before. And our guest today is one of those who are helping us to harvest the first fruits of all this amazing new knowledge. I mean, we don't work so hard to ever better understand the greater reality just so we can say, hey, it makes sense, and just so we can describe it, just so we can talk about it. We don't even do it just so we can understand what happens at death. No. The real core reason why this work is so important is that as we come to ever better understand what reality is and how it's constructed, we are empowering ourselves to live ever better lives. Here with us today for the 7th time is my wonderful friend, Peter Wright. He's a certified hypnotherapist in Santa Barbara, California, with 25 years of experience. He holds a master's degree from the University of Pennsylvania. He went undergrad to Tufts University back in my old hometown of Boston. And he's one of only 40 board certified, I think I have a list today somehow. He's one of only 40 board certified past life regression therapists in the nation. He's also certified as a life between lives hypnotherapist. He's skilled with spirit releasement therapy. And we're going to be talking today how that all fits together. Why does it make sense for him to develop expertise in all these different areas? Well, we're going to talk about that. Peter Wright has by now helped more than 1,900 clients through his hypnotherapy practice. He sees them in his office in Santa Barbara, and he sees them worldwide by phone, by Skype, and by Zoom. There are many people, frankly, who are listen to Seek Reality who have actually contacted him. He tells me about it all the time. And they tell me too. I hear from people, not infrequently, who say, hey, thank you. Thank you for introducing me to Peter Wright. He's made a difference in my life. So I'm excited to have him back again. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you so much, Roberta.
I'm so happy to have you here. I mean, we keep talking about we need to do this, and so now we're doing it again. And you have some pretty exciting things, I think, to talk with us about today.
Yes, I do. I'd like to talk about the fifth dimension.
Well, that's already I'm boggled. But first, you use hypnosis to help people. What is hypnosis? Let's explain that. So some people don't know.
For me, hypnosis is just simply focused concentration, where you're fully aware of everything that's going on around you. You hear the traffic outside, but hopefully you're sharing with me what's going on inside of you, because I believe that so many of our answers are within us if we can just get out of the way. And I'm here to help you get out of the way.
I have been to work with you twice, and in both cases I learned a great deal. I found it really helpful. The first time I was sure I could not be hypnotized. Oh, you can't do me, Peter, sorry. I'm your first failure. And sure enough, you were able to do it. So even people who think they can't be hypnotized, it's because you have this wonderful, sweet, soothing voice. I don't know why it is, but both cases were extremely helpful. I'm planning to somehow do it again if I can ever find the time, but there's so much I've learned already from working with you. So the reason that you do hypnotherapy is just so people can get out of their own way, basically, and you can talk to the inner person?
Exactly. So what I find is that, as I mentioned, with so many answers being within, in my practice, which is a rather metaphysical one, right up front in hypnosis, I invite you to meet with your own higher self and your heart, two key parts of you, because through them, we have access to all the guidance available to you. And then we invite those key players to come forth and work with us to take us back to the cause or source of the issues you're seeking to resolve, and invite you to get out of the way. And what happens is they do take us back, and we can accomplish a great deal in just 1 2-hour session.
Yeah, I was really amazed by that. My first attempt to work with Peter was a wish to experience some past lives, to access my past lives. And the first thing that happened as soon as you started talking to whoever it is that's living inside my head was that my primary guide came through. I've had 17 lifetimes with him, and the first thing he said was he didn't want me accessing any past lives. So that made it a very short trip. I came to you for that, and he wouldn't allow it. But it was still fascinating anyway. I mean, among other things, you said, okay, can we just assemble some of the people who were in past lives with you? Talking to my guide, Thomas, he said yes. And sure enough, every one of them was a man. They were standing there, all different weird costumes, all versions of me, and they were all male. So all these things are so vivid. I couldn't believe how vivid and how emotional it all was. I was astonished, Peter.
Well, I find that when you're in hypnosis, your soul speaks to your imagination, and your imagination isn't making things up. Rather, it's translating what is inside of you into first thought, first feeling, first image, first voice. So I invite you, as you did, Roberta, be my tour guide, be my court reporter, and share with me whatever is happening as the session unfolds, because we're working in partnership with the help that's present, and they know exactly where we need to go to resolve these issues.
It was amazing. All right, so let's talk about all these dimensions. I can envision 4 dimensions. Talk about what are the first and second dimensions?
I would say that the first dimension is made up of rocks, minerals, mountains, lava, and other natural forms on the planet. And the second dimension would include plants and trees and flowers and vegetation and animals and the fish in the ocean and the birds in the sky.
Okay, then it's the third. What's that?
Well, the third dimension is, of course, what we humans call ordinary reality. It's our typical day-to-day life. As we all know, we live in the third dimension. And for so many of us, there's nothing more than their awareness that this is all there is. And yet, as a hypnotherapist, I found that there's so many more realms for us to explore beyond the third dimension.
Okay, what's the fourth dimension?
The fourth dimension is also known as the astral plane. And from what I understand,
Okay.
exactly, it contains 7 levels. The higher ones in the fourth dimension include heaven, where most souls go to recuperate and learn from their lives between lives. And you certainly are an expert on heaven, Roberta.
Thank you. I'm not sure anybody really is, even the people who live there, but we try.
And in the lower levels of the fourth dimension, you have the astral plane, which contains earthbound spirits and other beings and negative energies and so on that have temporarily forgotten their connection with the light.
Wow. Okay. What's the fifth dimension then?
For me, the fifth dimension is a higher vibratory energy band where you move beyond the duality of our third dimensional reality. And by that I mean beautiful, ugly, good, bad, black and white, right and wrong.
Yes. It's all dual, right? That's right.
So that by moving beyond it, we can explore all possibilities for your life. So my definition for the fifth dimension is that in that high vibrational energy, you can travel any place, anywhere, any when, and any time. And why is that true? Well, because space and time do not exist in the fifth dimension.
Okay. One of the things that we're coming to understand is that we see things as separate, like these dimensions, but that's not how people that we used to think were dead see them. So really what you're doing is breaking out their reality for us to better understand. And that's very helpful because all of these realities exist in the same place. They're in, because if place doesn't mean anything anyway, because there's no space and there's no time really. But that's really very helpful. So the only way to get into the fourth dimension is to travel out of your body, I would think, or to die and graduate, right?
That's correct. Yep.
But the fifth dimension, it actually covers it all, permeates it all. And when we are here, therefore, we can access the fifth dimension simply by getting, as you say, getting out of the way.
And hypnosis can be a way to take you up into that high vibrational existence, where your conscious awareness merges with your higher self.
Okay. And so when people come to you, they have a presenting problem, right? Typically, what kinds of problems do people come to you with?
Typically, clients have your everyday negative emotions, from anxiety to fear to grief to depression to you name it. And we're seeking then to use the power of the fifth dimension, if you will, to help you resolve those issues through higher self, heart, and all the guidance available to you.
Okay. And does this work right away? I mean, it worked with me right away. It was like I was already into whatever you were doing. Do you find that people sometimes resist being hypnotized? It's harder for you to get them to really go where they need to be?
All hypnosis is self-hypnosis. You're in charge.
Oh,
and what you do then is just simply follow my instructions. And the basic instruction is relax, 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 relax.
Right. Well, that makes it simple.
It certainly does.
And if people will just relax and listen and let the words sort of flow in, it'll happen naturally.
It happens naturally. Absolutely. If you've ever cried while watching a sad film, you've been in trance. Reading a good book, watching television, we go in and out of trance every day. It feels great. It happens easily. And so it can easily happen when we get together in person for a session or a phone session.
I think that's fascinating. We talked about hypnosis before, and before I did it with you, I really couldn't envision how it was possible to be in that condition. but I'm not sure that anybody would be able to help. I think it has to be someone who has your kind of personality. You're always, it's like you have one note. You're always on this sort of happy, positive note. I've never known you. Do you ever get cranky? I don't think you ever do, right?
I do get cranky, but
no, I've never seen it.
I do, but that's just well, you don't see it.
Right. Well, but okay. So this is something then, as I say, a number of people have, people email me not infrequently and say that they have worked with you and that it's helped them tremendously. And so these are people who have, I guess, emotional issues, you think, or people like me who just want to, maybe travel in time or and go to past lives, or what other things other than those things might people come to you about?
Almost any particular issue. I've had a number of clients dealing with grief. And in fact, we talked about this on one of your podcasts where
yes.
Everybody's available to us in the trance state. So it's very easy, whether they're currently alive in physical body, or they've passed on, or they're past life personalities, or they're beings of light and ascended masters from the non-physical realm. They're all available through your imagination.
And everyone's thinking, wait a minute. Imagination is fake, isn't it? What answer that? Because I was surprised too that that's what you call it.
Imagination is, for me, fifth dimensional energy. So because it takes you, you can go anywhere, any place, any when, any time, and the like. So we just simply invite your imagination to come forth and encourage it to, through your heart and your higher self, to work in partnership, to take us back to whatever the cause or source is of the issues we're seeking to deal with. And as I said earlier, invite you to get out of the way and let's resolve it in often 1-2 hour session.
I guess the key is that you say first thought, first impression. So you let your imagination wander, but you don't choose. Gee, I think I'd rather have been Cleopatra. I'll go with that one. You don't choose. It has to be the first one that comes to your mind. That's what your own mind has chosen to feed to you for you to work with, right?
Exactly. So in a way, your higher self is leading the session through your imagination, and we just follow it as if it's important. And it is.
That is exactly what happened. As I say, I've been amazed. I really do want to try to do this again. Now, does it work as well? Because I've only done this in your office. Does it work as well if you do it by Skype or by Zoom or something? By phone?
I do by phone, by Skype, by Zoom, because all we need is simply verbal contact, and I don't even need to see you. And we're just sort of trusting in the process. And with first thought, first feeling, first image, first voice, for both of us, we're being led by your own guidance to resolve these issues.
Yeah, exactly what happened. Wow, this is amazing. So what kinds of things do people typically experience when, I guess the heal yourself, heal your life is what you call this guided visualization that you do, right?
Yes, so it's very specific to a client who has a particular issue they'd like to resolve. And so what happens is that the visualization is about 25 minutes long. It has hypnotic music in the background. And as I joke with clients, I invite you to enjoy the music in the background and the visualization because it's guaranteed to take you into a relaxed state of trance. So as you listen to it, it takes you on a journey out into the cosmos. And as a result of that, moving from third dimensional reality into fifth dimensional reality. And so in doing so, we can soon then connect with the awareness of all that is out there. And through that, invite that high vibrational energy to work through us both, but especially through you, to shift or change the issues that we're seeking to resolve from a very high vibrational perspective.
It really is amazing. Everyone, do you see what I mean when I say that what this greater understanding that seeking reality gives us, beginning to put it all together gives us, is a much greater ability to work comfortably with what once would have been thought to be woo-woo. There's nothing woo-woo about this. It's just every bit as much a part of reality as the furniture in your house or the sun in the sky. The only difference is that we used to think that there was not all of this reality that simply isn't visible to us. It's because science has been so material focused and religion has been so fear focused. This is a whole new area we have never been able to access until we truly started seeking reality. And Peter, that's what fascinates me about this. You're comfortable working in an area which has always been there, and which some people I probably have always been accessing, but you're making it part of this reality because we've gotten to that point in our development by all of us seeking the truth together. I mean, this is remarkable to me, seeing how it works.
And it just naturally unfolds. Because what we're doing here is, I say, going from the third dimension into the fifth dimension. And once we're in the fifth dimension, we are given an opportunity to have you, or I'm inviting you in the guided visualization, to hold the issue that you're seeking to resolve in your hands. Imagine it's right there, the fear that you'd like to let go of, or the grief, or whatever that emotion might be. And once it is there in your imagination, in your hands, I invite then the perfection of that emotion, the highest, best part in terms of fear turning into love, to come forth, because what we're dealing here with is, in the higher vibration of the fifth dimension, everything is created from perfect divine blueprints or patterns of perfection. And these divine blueprints or patterns of perfection naturally flow from the fifth dimension on down into the lower vibrations of the third dimensions. So, for example, your health, your relationships, your beliefs about abundance, and numerous other areas of your life can start out as divine, perfect blueprints. But as these blueprints flow downward from the higher vibration of the fifth dimension into the lower vibration of the third dimension, they go directly into your mind, your body, your emotions, and into your life. So it's pretty amazing what this works.
It is. And someone else or another sort of system, everyone, that we have talked about on Seek Reality is these guided afterlife connections that Rochelle Wright does. She's been here a couple of times, another Wright. And Dr. Hogan has as well. He has, for free, you can go to his website and you can start to learn how to basically meet with your loved ones you used to think were dead and have what amount to a physical contact with them, physical hugging, physical walk on the beach. I don't understand this, but this is, as you point out, your imagination isn't fake. It's just a way to access information in your mind, right?
Exactly. So, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to add, everyone, there are 6 more conversations with Peter in our archive, and I really recommend that they're all on different topics. I recommend that you listen to them if you're at all interested in trying to understand how this works, because he does explain it very well, and it does help so many different kinds of problems.
So going back to these divine blueprints, as they enter into you, they are met by your own negative thoughts, your feelings, your bad attitudes, your limiting beliefs that you carry within your mind, body, and spirit, and emotions from your own experiences in the third dimension. And they easily distort these divine blueprints of perfection. And as a result, the negativity that you are living within prevents you from receiving the love, the happiness, the good health we deserve. So what we're doing here is that we are then inviting you to hold on to this visualization, the emotion, and then I present to you divine commands that help you to shift the energy that is within that negative emotion that you're holding. And
Right.
the result, it helps you let go of these negative thoughts, fears, attitudes, and beliefs because they're being surrounded by the higher vibration of these divine commands that help to correct them to the perfection of that positive emotion that we're seeking to create for you.
Wow. So it's like a virtual war in your mind. And of course, the love-based is much more powerful, so it triumphs.
Exactly. And inviting you to get out of the way
Yes.
and allow the divine decrees to help you shift whatever the issue is that you're working on to the perfection of that positive emotion that you're seeking to create that overwhelms the negative emotion that you've been carrying with you for far too long.
Fascinating. Are people ever frightened by what happens in some of these sessions you have? Does it ever get scary?
No, it doesn't, because we're coming from a place of being very calm and in a feeling of well-being, and we're working with divine commands. And right up front, I have surrounded you with a bubble or shield of white protective light. I've asked you in advance for are there any religious figures, saints, loved ones who passed on, guides that you work with, inviting all of them to come forth as well, so you feel their love and support for you. And they're witnessing the session and also helping us during the session to create the shifts and changes that are so important to you. So fear doesn't really enter in during these phone or one-on-one sessions or in this guided visualization that I've been describing.
That was my experience too. It was a very comfortable, cozy, but at the same time, it was very empowering sense that whatever we wanted to explore, you could call in the people to help us explore it. It really was very empowering. I loved that feeling.
Help is all around, but help can't help us as much as we ask for it. So that's why we keep asking for it.
Yes, and I think that you're vibrating pretty high, Peter, because I felt that just being with you was protective. That's how it felt. You end up trusting Peter right away was my experience, and that's not true for me with very many people. So that was lovely. But it happens just the same if you talk with someone by phone.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, indeed. Again, we make it a safe place. I'm holding the energy. I'm asking for my own guidance to be with us both as well. And we both get out of the way, trusting first thought, first feeling, first image, first voice.
Why would this be true, everybody? Well, the reason is that, of course, in the fifth dimension, there is no distance at all. Mm-hmm. Just as there's no distance. When we enter the afterlife, we can be anywhere we want instantly by thought because there's no distance. All these matter-based things no longer exist where it is that Peter takes you. It's quite empowering, really very empowering, I thought. But all right, someone who is in deep grief, how does it really go away in one session or largely? Is it eased really?
Often it can, because and I was at a workshop several years ago, and there was another hypnotherapist present as a participant, and we were both engaged in idle chatter before the workshop began. During one of the breaks, he shared with me on his cell phone part of a video of one of his client's sessions. Now, the client was in hypnosis, and they had invited the client's Uncle Harold to join them in the imagination of the client. Uncle Harold had passed on years before, but in the video, Roberta, you could see a little photograph of Uncle Harold. Uncle Harold wasn't, he'd passed on, but it was vibrating, it was dancing right next to the face of the client.
Are you serious? Really? Wow.
Really. And so it proved to me that everybody is available to us in the trance state.
Wow. That's really great.
Or they passed on, or they're past life personalities, or they're beings of light from the non-physical realm. So for those who have lost loved ones, we invite their loved one to join us in the set, in the imagination of the client who is in hypnosis. And by talking heart to heart with the loved one, as the client does out loud. And then I ask the client, how does the loved one respond? It can often create this forgiveness, this, oh my gosh, I miss you, but I know you're with me now feeling and can be with me in the future whenever we choose. So it's a great way to help those who are grieving come to closure. And
yeah, that's really remarkable. Do you have any stories about that? I mean, obviously we don't want to know names or anything, but any of the kinds of things that have happened when you were doing this that people might find interesting?
I had a client several months ago who she discovered that the company where she worked, they were reorganizing her department. And so they told her that she needed to reapply for her present job. Well, to me, that in my own mind was they're trying to get rid of you, but I'm not going to tell her.
Yeah, no.
So I invited her. We had a phone session and helped her work on thoughts, feelings, attitudes, and beliefs to prepare her for the interview. And so towards the end of the session, after we got rid of old thoughts, feelings, attitudes, and beliefs, I connected her with her higher self and her heart and asked her to reconnect with them daily. And I sent her a higher self shortcut to do that in a special place that she had come up with. And in so doing, I got an email from her a couple of weeks later. And she said, I got the job. And I said, great. But something strange happened. And so she went on to say that she'd been connecting using the higher self shortcut with her heart and higher self daily, feeling their love and their support, and asking them a question about her day. And as she did this, she was saying to them, will you please help me in my
right.
in my upcoming interview for the job? And the higher self said, there'll be no interview. Well, it didn't make sense to her. So the next day she tapped in again, asked the same question, felt the same support and love. And again, higher self said there'll be no interview. So the following day was the interview. She went in and discovered that she was the leading candidate and therefore wouldn't have to have an interview with the bosses per se. And she was thrilled, but I pointed out that her higher self knew in advance that this was not, that this was going to work out the way it did. So trusting, asking within, getting answers and acting upon it is the best way to proceed, especially when you now know what your higher self and heart sound like and look like and feel like to you, which is something I do with all my clients.
Yes, I remember. So this is another important point, everyone. Not only is there no distance in the fifth dimension, there's no time there. So of course they already knew this stuff. Isn't that fascinating? That was great. All right, do you have another one? Can you tell us another one?
Had a client, let me see here. A woman who had a difficult relationship with her mother. They'd always had a difficult relationship. So during the session, we invited mom to join us in the imagination of the client. So the client spoke her truth to mom and heard her mother's responses and let me know what mom was saying in return. In fact, mom went on to say that her mother had treated her the same way that she was her daughter, and she felt guilty for it. So by the end of the session, the client was feeling much better about this improved relationship with her mother. And a day went by, and she called me and said, a strange thing just happened. I got a text from my mother, who never texts me. And in her text, she suggested we should get together for lunch and improve our relationship. Well, mom had been part of the session the previous day, even though it was in the imagination of the client.
Of course.
As you know, we're all connected. So this is a way to reach out to those with whom you have unfinished business and speak your truth, come to closure with them, and often they are affected by it, even though they may not be present consciously.
Isn't that fascinating? Wow. Do we know how it turned out? Did they end up becoming buddies or something?
I'm not sure, but I would assume that if the invitation was to get together for lunch, and in the past the client had reached out to mom, and mom had swatted her away.
Isn't that awful? Yeah. Wow. Well, that is really wonderful. A lot of people have family members with whom they have uncomfortable relationships. So what if you're able to do this for them, then you can. It seems to me that it doesn't just your mother. There are a lot of different kinds of damage can be healed or worked out, or people can become more receptive by doing this, reaching out in your mind. That's great, Peter. I never even thought of that, doing that sort of thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you have another one? I'm sort of getting hooked on these stories.
Fine. I have a client who came to me with a pain in her in the back of her neck that had been chronic, and so she was been to the doctors. They weren't sure what was causing it, and so on. So brought into a state of trance and discovered, in asking her higher self, is the pain that, let's say, Edith is feeling in her back of her neck caused by something that happened to her in this life? And the higher self said no. Is it from a past life? Yes. Would you take us back there now? Yes. And she found herself as a soldier during World War II who was shot in the neck and died. Oh. And by going back into the story, we were able to not only find out what happened, but also what happens in this particular approach that I use in working with past lives. We go through the story, we go through the death, what was your dying thought, and then go up into the light, into your light body, if you will, your spirit body. And then I invite you to imagine yourself standing in front of going into the bardo, the in-between place between lifetimes, and inviting anyone from that story, that life with whom you have unfinished business, to join us. So in this case, she invited the man who shot her, the soldier, the opposing army soldier, to join us. And by talking back and forth, the man who shot the soldier, if you will, in the neck, apologized for it.
Right.
But as they both said, it was wartime. They were each doing
what are you going to do? Right.
Yes. So, but by doing so, I then learned in the follow-up session from the client that the pain had completely disappeared, no longer an issue for her.
Okay, you're opening up a whole new area here. You're saying that some of the chronic pain and other kinds of physical seeming issues that we have in this life are caused by traumas in other lives?
Absolutely. Yes, indeed.
Okay. All right. Here's one. I just this past Sunday, I generally take my children and grandchildren who happen to be in town out on Sunday morning for brunch, because as anyone who knows me knows, I certainly am not going to church at that time. So therefore, the church of family love is the one we all celebrate in. So, but all right. So this past Sunday, I was talking. We were talking, and I learned that one of my beautiful granddaughters has some issues that strike me as strange. I mean, she had headaches, at which a chiropractor is helping by doing things with her neck. She has some spinal issues, and I never knew about it. But apparently, as she grows, they become more prominent. Those could, in fact, be because of a trauma in a previous lifetime?
Absolutely. Yes, indeed.
Well, you just got another patient, dear. I'm gonna send her to you, because I think she'll find it's really fun. She's a very bright, curious young child. Well, she's not young anymore. She's a teenager, for heaven's sake. But to me, she's my baby. And I think you may be able to help her, and I know she will be very entertained by what you do. So there's another one. I'll be in touch with you about that. Wow, that's great.
Well, as you've said, so many of our answers are within us if we could just get out of the way. And with hypnosis, it allows us not only to get out of the way, but also with my metaphysical approach, because the session is being led by your heart and your higher self and all your guidance, they know where we need to go.
I think this is great. What's wonderful, everyone, is that what Peter does, and frankly what Rochelle does and what Dr. Hogan does, all of what they do seems impossible if you look at the world in physical terms. But in reality, even matter is not physical. It's energy, which happens to be vibrating in such a way that it's, as Dr. Einstein said, it's vibrating slowly enough that the matter that we think is there is actually perceptible to us, but it's just because of the way it's vibrating. It's really the only energy. And knowing all of that, and knowing, as we already know, of course, that there is a greater reality beyond the physical, which is where we go at night to meet with our guides, where we go at death, and knowing further how powerful our minds are. They're all part of one gigantic mind. All of the things that Peter is doing are simply accessing parts of reality that we didn't know about before, but that are every bit as real as, the house you're in right now, or whatever you're doing, wherever you are, all the things you think are physical. All of this that Peter's doing is just as real. And frankly, I find it very, very efficient. Every time, both of the times that I worked with you, I learned a lot, and we had a lot of fun with it at the same time. So I am going to have to come back, but for sure I'm going to send my granddaughter to you. Now, how would people get in touch with you? What is it? How do you help them? How would they get started?
To go to my website, which is www.insightsfromwithin.com. And you'll find out a lot of information about me there. Plus, there is a contact form for you to fill out and send back to me via email, expressing what your interests might be regarding the various services that I offer. Plus, I offer free 30-minute consultations by phone or Skype or Zoom for anyone who's interested in possibly working with me. So we can talk about the issue you'd like to resolve, or issues, and then I talk about how my approach using hypnosis can often quickly help you resolve these issues. And then if there's a match, we set a time to get together and have a session, again, in person or by phone or by Zoom. In addition, you'll find on the website the product that I referred to earlier in our podcast today. It's called Heal Yourself, Heal Your Life Guided Visualization into the Fifth Dimension. It's 25 minutes long, and on my website, you'll find out information about it, including a short video presentation concerning it and directions on how to purchase it for only $28. You can download it and put it on your computer, your iPad, your cell phone, or other devices. And I find that each time you listen to it, you'll be taken into an altered state of hypnosis, up into the fifth dimension, where we will use divine commands to help you resolve that particular issue, and then bring you safely on back into conscious waking reality. And the more you listen to this, the more you can take off additional layers of stuff that is preventing you from stepping into your own power. Plus, this particular product has a 100% satisfaction guarantee. So check it out at www.insightsfromwithin under the fifth dimension page of the website. And let me know if you have any questions or comments about possibilities of working with me as well.
So you're saying that now people could get Peter in a bottle. You don't even have to work with me. Here's Peter in a bottle, and you can, and that's wonderfully empowering. People can do it themselves, is what you're saying, and it's guaranteed. That's wonderful.
And that's part of what I'm doing is encouraging people to do it themselves, in that as a result of the 2-hour session and the 1-hour follow-up for my regular clients, I send you this higher self shortcut where I'm hoping you will continue to work with your inner wisdom team, heart, higher self, and other guidance, and resolve problems on your own, empowering you to really get even more of what you want.
I remember you tried to get me to do this too, but I don't have any problems actually anymore. I think I may have had some, but I think you already fixed them. But frankly, I love it when I actually have personally been part of or partaken of things I recommend to you, because even though other people might say to me, "Oh, Roberta, that's wonderful. You should have people go to someone or do this or read that." And I usually read the books that we talk about here. It's just nice. I'm able to say, this was really life-changing what you did for me, and I was very, very grateful to it. So I can recommend it without reservation, without any qualms, because it worked for me. And that's all I can tell you, everyone. It did work for me and worked beautifully.
And if I could add one more thing, which is to go to my website again and take a look at what my clients say, because there's some very good testimonials from a variety of people that will give you a good feel for what can happen from working with me.
Peter, this has been, as always, so much fun. It's time for us now to sort of end this, which I'm sorry about. I'd love to hear some more stories, but we'll come get together again and talk about these things. But meanwhile, please consider yourself hugged. I wish, all across the country. I wish we were closer. I could give you a real hug.
Thank you.
So meanwhile, everybody, this has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. I am really glad you could be with us today. Don't you love Peter? Isn't he fun? Please never forget that you are a powerful, eternal being. You are. You never began, you never will end. That is the central fact of your life. And when you really get what the implications of it, when you understand what that means, it does change everything in your life for the better. Next week, we're going to be talking with James Twyman, who is someone I first met actually a decade ago, and he bills himself as the Peace Troubadour. This month, he's traveling and performing his new musical, which is called Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon Musical Tour in 10 cities in the United States. He's doing it now, moving from west to east. He lives in Portland, I think. Eventually, within the next, I think, 2 weeks, he's going to be on Broadway, performing off-Broadway this musical. I mean, talk about moxie. This guy's amazing. He's traveling the way St. Francis did, barefooted, penniless, relying on the kindness of strangers, and his purpose is one that's close to everybody's heart. He intends to make St. Francis's values of inclusion, respect for all living beings, and just peaceful coexistence among all of us into what he calls a clarion call to all the world. He has performed his peace concert over the years in places like Iraq, Bosnia, South Africa, Northern Ireland. At one point, he was invited to perform in Baghdad by Saddam Hussein himself. Oh, my. And he once gave a peace concert for ISIS. So there's nothing that scares this guy. He's really trying to make peace in the world. We recorded the interview you'll hear next week more than a month ago because we had to do it before he set off on the road. Right now he's traveling, and he will be playing St. Francis now apparently everywhere he goes. We're going to have him back again soon after all of this is over so he can tell us how it went. I can't wait to hear that. You're going to love this very interesting, strange man, but very beautiful man all the same. I don't know what drives him the way it does, but he is driven. Please join us next week. This week we've been talking with another lovely friend of mine, the wonderful hypnotherapist, Peter Wright. What Peter does is very much on the cutting edge, but because it works and I've experienced it working, I just am fascinated by it. I love talking to Peter about what he does. And many Seek Reality listeners tell me that they've already talked to him and it has helped them a lot. So I'm just recommending to you that if you have something that is bothering you, something troubling your mind. We all know when we do have that. Or depression or anything. There's no harm in reaching out. He talks to people for free to see whether or not he can help. His program is called Heal Yourself, Heal Your Life, Guided Visualization into the Fifth Dimension, which, as we know, is using your imagination to create a reality in which you can then try to work out the things in your mind that are problems now. I really love, every time we talk to Peter, I love hearing his stories, hearing about all of this, because every time it becomes clearer to me that this is the next stage of treating so many of the problems that we now treat with chemicals, treat with talk therapy, or just plain tell people to get over. I mean, the power your own mind has to heal yourself, body and mind, is something which we are not even beginning to explore and to access. This all makes sense. I mean, I'm really tempted to say, any problem you have, Peter will talk to you for half an hour. Why don't you see if there's something he has done before for other people that might help you as well. As you know, my nonfiction books are Liberating Jesus, My Thomas, The Fun of Dying, The Fun of Staying in Touch, The Fun of Growing Forever, The Fun of Living Together, and very soon The Fun of Loving Jesus, Embracing the Christianity that Jesus taught. There are children's books too, and all the adult books are available pretty much everywhere. You may have to order them in a bookstore, but they're certainly available on Amazon. And there are audio books, which I narrated myself, but I was a lot more organized, of course, when I did that. So if you want to talk about anything with me, if you want to talk about my books or talk about anything, please don't hesitate to email me. I do answer every email. It just can take a while. Just go to the contact block on robertagrimes.com. And, of course, past episodes of Seek Reality are available all over the place. webtalkradio.net, realrevolutionradio.com, iTunes, iHeart, and a bunch of other places, including those in the wonderful Dream Vision 7 radio family. There also is a free app in the iTunes store that will let you just plain automatically get each new episode again for free. I love the price. If you enjoy these conversations, you also might want to check out my blog post each Sunday morning. There are lively discussions there every week. What we're exploring now is what the world would be like if there were no sin, because, of course, we know Jesus came to do away with the concept of sin. What if he had succeeded in convincing people that God loves us perfectly? There's nothing you can do that makes God not want to have you close, not love you. You're like God's best beloved child no matter what. Wouldn't it be nice if we were living in that kind of world? Well, we've been talking about that the last few weeks, and we'll be doing it again next Sunday. Meanwhile, this has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Please enjoy and please make the most of this coming week in our one reality, knowing that you are a powerful, eternal being. You are, and you in particular, most of all, are infinitely loved.
You've been listening to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Roberta blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Join us every week as we explore what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about the one reality we all share. Knowing the truth changes everything.